There's a quote by Laura Wasser, an American divorce attorney, the host of All's Fair with Laura Wasser, a podcast on iHeartRadio, and the founder and CEO of an online divorce source, It's Over Easy, where she says, "My dad once said that in criminal law, you see terrible people on their best behavior. In family law, you see great people on their worst behavior." I felt that 9 months ago when I used the same quote in a different presentation that I knew what it meant. But 9 months later, after all the experience I've gained in ISM, I feel that I can truly attest to this. I truly know what this quote means, and I can get into that throughout the entirety of this product. Hi, my name is Mariah McBride. Thank you so much for joining me for my final ISM presentation. The past 9 months, I studied family and criminal law. You can find me at mariahmmflores10@gmail.com for any questions, comments, or concerns at the end of this presentation. Why law? Growing up on Sundays, my dad and I would watch a lot of Law and Order Special Victims Unit. It was pretty much an unspoken rule and tradition that we would have every Sunday to watch it until pretty much dinner time, and then we'd go to bed. Also, growing up, I watched Legally Blonde. I know it's a work of fiction as well, but it really empowered me to really take the steps forward to really look into it when I got older. Then, as I got older, I watched When They See Us and the trials of Gabriel Fernandez and the Ted Bundy tapes, and currently watching Tiger King, that if there were some different legal actions taken, that those instances would have changed and those end results would not have been the results. So I sought to change that. Also, more than half of my friends growing up had divorced or separated parents. My parents were together since before I could remember, so I never really understood that, but felt that it was weird that my friends had to go to their one parent's house every other weekend and couldn't hang out because of that, or they had different types of brothers and sisters. So I was never able to be very empathetic and understand truly when they talked about what they were going through. My dad, right there shown in those pictures, is legally my adopted dad. I never thought of him as my stepdad. He was just always dad to me. People would notice the extreme height difference or how I wasn't African American colored, but my brothers were, and it felt so weird to have to tell them, well, he isn't my biological dad. All because there's complications with my biological dad and his rights. On November 4th of 2019, I was legally adopted through an adult adoption. So there we are in front of the Bexar County Courthouse taking photos that day. It's a very exciting day for me and him because I always felt that he was my real dad. But to have it on paper and to not feel like I would have to tell people he isn't my dad just lifted that weight off of me. And it felt very amazing. We were looking forward to this moment for almost 18 years. And so I was very excited and he was very excited. We were crying. There was tears. Going through that process and watching the media through a more mature and understanding lens, especially now, and then watching these different cases on Netflix and being able to understand it, I was able to witness the reality of law and that there is a lot of unfairness demographically, and I'm seeking to change that. I understand I'm one person, but reaching even one life is worth everything. I grew up very fortunate, but there were a lot of instances that my mom didn't have the right hand in the divorce with my biological dad, and where legal officials didn't do their part. Before I get into my product, before I get into my experience of ISM, I want to talk about what ISM is. Whenever I'd ask for letters of recommendation or network, I would say it's for ISM, and the automatic response was, what is ISM? So let's go ahead and break it down. The I stands for all about the student. Each student studies whatever they want to study, so it was very independent in that sense. You couldn't really rely on anyone else for the answers, like in other classes, or help. It was also an honors class. You also had a 1.5 speech credit. I already had the speech credit, but you get to join this class as a junior and a senior, and if you didn't already have it, this class would give you it. Also, we didn't have a teacher. We had a facilitator, Miss Big. The class would typically start with her saying hi. We would maybe talk about something, and then she'd be like, okay, have fun. Because the class, she would leave us for 45 minutes because the class was independent, and she didn't really need to hold our hands through any assignments or teach us a lesson, essentially. The S stands for study. That means our assignments were typically 2 to 3 assignments a week, maybe at most, and it was very self-paced. You were able to break it down how you wanted to have it as long as you turned it on the due date. She would hand out a calendar, and you'd see what assignments were coming up, so you were really able to self-pace it for yourself. There was also the sense of freedom of expression in this class, because we had one of our assignments were reflective journals, and she would have us read an article about a life skill or ask us how we're doing in our ISM experience so far, whenever that assignment was. And we each talked about our own thing, and it was really fun to have a sense that we could write about whatever we wanted. It wasn't based off a subject in a class or something that was everyone was writing about the same thing. And then if we were talking about a life skill, we were able to apply it to what we were studying. So there's me on the far left. I would apply it usually to law. And then the girl to the right of me, Jazz, she would apply it to construction management, or the boy next to her in the blue sweater would apply it to criminal law. And then the boy next to him would apply it to architectural. And then the girl next to him would apply it to math teaching. So I felt that there was a big freedom of expression in this class, and there was a lot of variation, which really made it all about the student and very studious to each person. The M stands for mentorship. I feel that as soon as you're accepted in ISM, you are already gaining the ISM experience, because you start to reach out, you start to network. Networking is how I actually got my mentor, because the former AP government teacher at my school is an attorney, and he reached out to a friend of his that he went to law school with and was an attorney downtown, and is an attorney downtown, and he asked her if she would take me on as a mentoree, and she said yes, and that is how I got my attorney. You already get experience from the get-go. Ms. Spig helps you with a template of an email to send to all these different, for my case, attorneys, and how to research, how to make your resume, and how to network, and how to really reach an audience to where you can find a mentor. Speaking of mentors, here's mine. Her name is Caitlin Elizabeth Bennett. She started at Texas Tech, and then she went to UTSA and got her Bachelor's of Arts of Political Science. Then she was able to get her law degree from St. Mary's School of Law, and she now practices law at Zarka Law Firm. A typical visit would be categorized into 3 types of visit. There would be a family court visit, a criminal court visit, and then an office visit. Family court was typically what I did. In the morning, I'd be there at 8 to 8:30, and walking right into the office, it was already hectic. You knew it was going to be a long day. There would be a lot of running around. It would either be the clerks making sure the last-minute printing was done, making sure everything was filed before they walk in there, and then making sure all the files were filed into their folders properly, because there was very many different tabs that you'd have to put different things under. You always had to expect the unexpected in family court. Once you got to the courthouse, you would go sit in presiding to meet with your client, and I remember my first visit, I was only supposed to be there 2 hours. They said we were only supposed to be there 2 hours, but then we ended up being there from 8 a.m. and presiding to about 5 to almost 6 p.m. that night, and I was very tired. I was so unexpected. I did not know how to walk in those heels after that long, all the walking, because we walked all throughout the courthouse. So it was very unexpected. Leaving was also an experience, because by the time I left, I'd be so exhausted. And this also happened in criminal. I'd be so mentally exhausted, and it'd be by 3 or 4 o'clock at least that I left. At least. And anytime after 3, there was going to be at least an hour traffic from downtown San Antonio to the Alamo Ranch, almost Helotes area of San Antonio. So it was an experience in itself, learning how to drive in those type of situations, and also learning to like coffee. I was not a big coffee drinker before this. In fact, I did not like the taste of coffee, but now I feel I have an understanding with coffee. Coffee and I kind of understand each other and help each other out. I was able to meet a couple of judges at family court. One of them, Antonia Ortega, she really spoke to me the most. She spoke to me on a personal level. Some of it I didn't share with anyone because I felt it was so personal, but one thing that she did mention to me was about who I am and how I'm going to be portrayed with being a lawyer and how to work in those situations. She also gave me judge advice, And I thought that was really cool too because that was different from the other judges I met. They gave me attorney advice and how to treat a judge, but she gave me judging advice because she said you never know what you're going to want to do. In criminal law, I would typically be shadowing Taryn or Amy because they dabbled more with criminal than Caitlin did. I was very fortunate to see all three of how they work in the law, how each of their different styles, how they each worked, how they each filed things and organized their own spaces and worked diligently. It was really different to see all three of them, and I was very fortunate. And then that was a very different environment. Also, like I said in the beginning quote, the environment between family and criminal law is so true to that statement. You're going to see the best people on their worst behavior in criminal, and then the worst people on their best behavior in criminal. So it was a lot different. And I was really able to feel, wow, I can attest to this statement now. Like, this is true. This is very true. And I was able to see all these different types of people. I would say in criminal court, it was a lot more calm. And it was also very intimidating. My first visit, I was kind of intimidated. I was a little scared because I had one sense going in there, but leaving, I had a different sense of how to act and how to treat people, I feel. I was able to meet a couple of judges in criminal court as well, and one of them even said, don't even try to pursue law. She said, go medical. Law's too much. And I was saying, okay, I'm still going to pursue law. It was just quite the experience. And then another type of visit I would have is an office visit, where it typically be client meetings or watching Caitlin catch up on work and responding to emails finally. The only task they'd really have me do is maybe get a paper from the printer, make copies, and file. I was really glad they taught me how to file because that was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. The environment in the office was definitely different. I would say it was more of like a family environment because they would fight. There was their drama, but then they also know how to work diligently with each other and efficiently, and they all collaborated with whatever case they were working on for different types of styles and help. So being able to work in that type of environment was very different. They knew how to keep it professional and personal at the same time. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about my final product after all the back and forth and the past 9 months of the different products that I had. I decided to tell you the difference on divorce cases and also what to know when you are considering divorce. So when I think of divorce, I think it's either going to be simple or complicated. When I think simple, that means it's not contested, it's uncontested, there's no property, there's no kids, maybe you have a cat. That's what I think of being simple. When I think of it being complicated here, I have military and retirement. There's also if you have kids, if you have property, and if it is contested, it's automatically complicated. Here's another little graph I have about it. I call it symbolic strings. That means you maybe have a pet, like I said, but it's also uncontested. And then if you have kids, you have to think about custody and child support. And Texas even has its own code about child support and its own set amount depending on your net income. The same goes for property. Texas also has its own code on property that anything attained during the marriage, even if it's bought on one spouse's money completely, it's still automatically community property. But also, I put attorney. I feel an attorney will really help with this because each individual circumstance is different, and an attorney is able to break down your property for you and how that's going to work, because I thought that meant completely, okay, it's just community property, they have to figure out and split it. But the attorney is able to break it down for you and really answer any and all property questions for you. And then I saved the best for last, military divorce. I remember Caitlin saying that sometimes there's only military divorce attorneys. It's its own special field because of how difficult it is, because you have to take into account how long the person was in the military, if they're both in the military, if the spouse was a dependent, if they have dependents, as in kids, and then the length of that marriage, and then if they're about to retire, because the spouse will feel entitled to some of that retirement and whatnot. So military is a very difficult field, and I'm very excited to learn more about that moving forward. Here's another side-by-side. If you have no symbolic strings, it takes maybe 60 to 90 days minimum. It has to be on file for 60 days at least before it can be finalized. The only exception to this is if there was a case of domestic violence, then that time is waived and your divorce will go by a lot quicker. Also, there's little to no attorney's fees. That means you maybe only have to do filing fees. Maybe you needed to seek an attorney for help based on your forms and how to read your forms, or maybe you needed them to file it for you. That's why I say little to no attorney's fees. If you have strings, you have to think about attorney's fees, you have to think about court fees, you have to think about custody, child support, spousal support, property, retirement, who gets what. And if you're wealthy, you have to think about that too, because your spouse could be entitled to something based on any prenuptial agreements that you had set forth, or not entitled to anything. The evolution of this came with a lot of research and observation, but a lot of it had already been taken throughout my time in ISM. I did not have to do a lot of extenuating research when I looked through all the research I had already had and all the observation I had. I also had to be very agile. I had to be able to maneuver my product to where at first it was just these slides, but then I was able to add a brochure that I'm going to be talking about in just a moment. And I really had to go through that and know how to really work quick on my toes. And I'll get into that more a little bit later too. Our teacher had us break up our product into 4 separate parts. 25% for me was having my non-negotiable slides done, which is this. I wrote down all the information I needed for these slides, and then I also, for 25%, looked through all the previous research and observation I had done and saw what I could use in this presentation. 50% was putting all of it together on these slides, putting all the information I needed on it, and then also doing any additional research I had to do. 75% was making this brochure, which I'm about to get into, and then 100% was practicing my presentation, going through my products, getting feedback from Ms. Fig and how she could help me or what necessary changes needed to be made. And that very much helped breaking it down so that I didn't snowball, or any of us didn't snowball, ended up having to do all of it at once. So we all had different due dates for those. This brochure that I made is considering a divorce and what you need to know and what to consider. It has frequently asked questions on it, and then most importantly, it has the biggest question: do you need an attorney for a divorce in Texas? And then it talks about the calculations for child support and then other things you should know. I will have this linked in here, and also if you email me, I can definitely send you this. But this was something that helped with my product. I was able to write down any questions that are typically asked. I researched what questions are typically asked, and then I just answered them. Of course, I fact-checked. And then I went through all of this process because I feel that if you're considering a divorce, this is something you would want to look at first, what to know and what to consider before you go through with this process. Because you could be going into this process with one head, like how I went into ISM with one perspective, and then walking out with totally different perspective on it. So that's why I ended up making the brochure. During the production of my product, there was a lot of dilemmas. For instance, the very main one is the circumstances of COVID-19. How we did not know we were not going back. We did not know that I was not going to be able to see my mentor anymore. Also, with COVID-19, I lost contact with my mentor. A lot of everybody kept in contact with their mentor, but with my mentor, I feel that she got really busy. I tried keeping in contact with her, but she probably got very busy with how courts were closing. She had a lot of clients. She had a lot of paperwork that we ended up losing contact. So I had to be able to come up with something on my own, but Ms. Fig really helped with that, and she really helped with the behind the scenes with this brochure and with this presentation. There was also a lot of technological difficulties. I am not the most tech savvy person, and everyone in this picture is very tech savvy except me. And I felt I really relied on them for tech issues that I would have. So without their collaboration, I had to do this all on myself, and I had to grow even more independent with my technological duties for this product. As you can see, there's a girl right here. She looks like she's about to lose her mind. That is how I felt with all these dilemmas, particularly not having a mentor, because it was a little hard, but luckily Ms. Fig really helped guide me and put me on the right path. Overall, my feelings on my product and on my brochure, I'm very happy. I'm very glad I was able to do this. Everything considered, I'm glad ISM wasn't even canceled. I'm so glad that we're still able to showcase what we learned through technology. And then my feelings on my ISM experience, I'm so grateful to have gone into this amazing program. It really taught me life skills and really taught me the insides of law. I was able to see it firsthand instead of just what I've seen in the media and with pop culture and the dilemma, the whole situation with me and my dad. I feel that ISM very much impacted me. It really helped me see a different side of law. It changed my mind on how I knew nothing, and I was so open to learn everything. And it made me learn that I needed to be more assertive. If you're going to be an attorney, I couldn't keep being this little quiet girl that wouldn't speak up. You need to be able to speak up instead of, I'm really good in debate where I can present the information, I can do the research, type up what I need, but then really speaking for what I want, speaking passionately about what I want, that's what ISM taught me, and it really also taught me a lot of public speaking skills. Before this, well, actually still am, I am a 4-year varsity debater, and I thought I knew everything about public speaking, but then there'd be a lot of impromptu public speaking, and this class really taught me about that. After all the court hearings and the client meetings and all the observation and research and annotated bibliographies that I have done throughout this process, I have decided I am still going to pursue law. Though the path may have changed on how I'm going to get there, I am going to get there, whether in the next 4 to 5 years. It will be happening, and I'm very excited to start pursuing law and really reach lives and make changes and do my part and really feel that I've helped out somehow. Thank you so much for joining my ISM presentation. Thank you so much for logging on. Thank you for everyone that helped with my letters of rec, with any insight that they might have had with their divorces and their experiences and their testimonies. Thank you so much for all of you. Thank you so much to Ms. Fig for your endless support and being one of the most amazing facilitators I have ever had. And you really helped me not just on the educational level, but on a personal level myself. I also want to thank my mentor for taking me on and giving me all this amazing experience. Thank you so much, Caitlin. And to all the other amazing ladies at Zarka Law Firm, thank you so much for really helping me and really help guide me. I know I could have been in the way, but y'all really didn't make me feel like that. If you have any questions, here's my email, mariahmmflores10@gmail.com. And you can also find me at my Instagram handle, Mariah McBride. Thank you so much for watching, and y'all have a great one and be safe. Thank you.